My name's Jonah Lamb. I'm a crime reporter for the San Francisco Examiner. Preparedness Day was a march, I believe, in 1916. It was a massive march on Market Street, which is behind me. It was essentially by pro-war folks in San Francisco who wanted the U.S. to enter World War I. It had not yet entered the war. It's a giant march. Lots of people were against the march on the left, in the progressive community, and also kind of anarchist radicals, thinking that it would be a war that we entered where capitalists were fighting capitalists, so they didn't really care. It wasn't part of their larger struggle. The parade started at that end of Market Street, which is where the Ferry Building is, headed towards City Hall. So it was the biggest parade ever. You had children, you had ladies, you had horse-drawn carriages. It was really festive, lots of American flags. Lots of people were watching it from rooftops. The bombing happened at the foot of Market almost. I want to say Front Street roughly. And the parade was so long that it kept going on the other end even when the bomb had gone off, so people didn't realize what had really happened. So the bomb exploded, you had body parts going everywhere, you had, I think people were thrown off of horses, and it was a pretty strong blast. Then it was cleaned up pretty quickly afterward, and they continued the parade. So the bombing itself and the moment of the bomb, 10 people were killed, 40 people were injured. The newspapers had pictures of the victims pretty quickly on the front page. I mean, it dominated the news cycle for the next week. They probably just couldn't find anybody, and if you have this kind of event in a city and nobody is caught and nobody is prosecuted, it looks bad for the powers that be. I mean, again, you have, at that time, you have a pretty rudimentary police system anyway. They could have had no leads, they could have torn everything up that they could. There was political pressure by the mayor's office, as there would be. The DA is elected. The DA wants to look like he's hard on crime, that he's going to go after whoever did this, whoever killed people. You have to have actions that occur, and promptly. In San Francisco, Emma Goldman, her and her lover had a magazine that they ran here called Blast. And so she was interviewed and arrested temporarily as part of the investigation. You have Wobblies who are really active, and they're really militant on the West Coast specifically. You have Berkman and Emma Goldman and others, so it was really hard to say who you're going to be talking about at the time. I mean, you had the Socialist Party was powerful at the time, so you have enough leftists and enough kind of ferment in the political world to not know if it could be any of these people or none of them. Mooney was a Unionist. He was married. He'd worked for lefty movements, right? He was pretty young when he got arrested, and he spent like 20 years in prison. He appeared in films advocating his freedom. But when he was released, and I think this is just an important thing in terms of his importance to the left at the time. There was a labor march down Market Street. He was in it, and then he appeared. His role as a symbol for the left and an example of the power of the left and the union movement. The fact that the city, some years after this whole thing happened, had a march where he was in his honor is a giant example of the power, at least at the time, that labor and the left had.